welcome to another video. Today I'm going to be giving a tour of my sketchbook from Glacier National Park. Alright, so this is the sketchbook that I worked on while I'm in Glacier National Park, and now that the Glacier vlogs are up on YouTube, I can finally do a tour of the sketchbook. So first off, stickers on the cover. This one my mom gave me before even going on the trip, and it just makes me smile when I look at it. And then this sticker, and this sticker, and this sticker I got while I was actually out on vacation. So, first page. First page is a hot mess because I was testing out what materials would work. I think I tested out like watercolor, pen. I think there's gouache in here, although I didn't actually use any gouache while I was on the trip, I don't think. So this is my like super messy, like I sort of tried to make it look official, but it's not really. And then here's my first spread even. I don't know if I'd count. This is more of a doodle page than a spread, let's be honest. I drew this while I was on the plane, and I was kind of trying to like not think about being on the plane, so I just did random doodles. And then this is a little drawing of this little boy who was sitting next to us at one point on the plane, or across the aisle from us. So this page is also kind of boring. Here's where it starts to get better. I don't know how well you can see. Some of these are really light, but I did sketches of like the cloud cover out the window in the plane, and that was really, I really enjoyed that. Like, I've drawn clouds before, obviously from the ground, but the airplane affords you like a different opportunity, like to see them from a different perspective. This is another thing where I like did little doodles, like these little compositional studies of the clouds in the plane, and then later I inked them and added watercolor to kind of bring them out a little bit more. And then I started also in this journal keeping like just a list of the things that happened, just as kind of a way to record it and remember certain things. So these are kind of my notes on what happened that day. This was the first day when we were traveling, and we got delayed a bunch of times, and it was like we had to wake up super early. So those are kind of my notes about that. And then, so this is from the first hike we took. This is Heaven's Peak, and I actually did this while I was out hiking, like when we were taking a break. I think it looks okay. Like, it doesn't exactly, like, if you were to look at actual Heaven's Peak and look at this, you'd be like, it's not perfectly, like, I think I messed up some of the snowfields. But I think as an actual painting, and, like, the first real painting, it's not too bad. So anyway, yeah, I kind of talked about, like, what we did and how we hiked. You know, our first hike wasn't available to us because of parking, so we ended up having to do the loop. I just basically wrote notes. I kind of try to cover a lot of this in my vlog, so I won't go into super much detail about the writing of what went on the trip, like that I write about in the sketchbook. But if you're curious, feel free to go check the vlogs out. That will make a lot of this make more sense. This is another study I did while I was there in person that same day. This is kind of a view from the trailhead. Like, we were at the parking lot, and I did sort of a study of the mountains just in pencil. I actually really like how this turned out. I love, like, the textures that I kind of, like, the variation in texture that I was, like, the way I rendered, like, closer textures and further away textures, like trees, and for it being in person, I think it turned out really nice. I hope you can see it okay, especially the clouds, because they're a little light. And especially for anyone who's ever tried to sketch out and about, like outdoors, it's a different experience, and it's a little stressful because you're not used to sketching outside, and you're trying to like manage your art supplies, and it's like windy and there are people around, and it's like weird, but so I'm really happy that I like did so well on this one. These were some things I did afterwards, little like notes of stuff that happens. I documented the water, the beautiful like glacier water. I documented the stones, because the stones were such beautiful colors. I don't know exactly what they were made of, but they were like these pinky purpley stones and these sort of bluish tealy blue-green stones along with like the yellowy, like if you looked at them in certain lights they would appear dull, but then like other times they had these overtones that were just really beautiful. And then, of course, the moose that we saw, the young moose, so I did a little drawing of that. This was a reference to something funny that happened with my family. We were trying to make decisions about the trip and planning and that sort of thing. And people kept talking over each other, and so to try to organize ourselves, we instituted that you had to like hold the salt shaker if you wanted to talk. And so we were not very good at following that rule. So one of the things someone would say when like somebody else was trying to talk was, "You don't have the salt." So I thought that was funny and needed to document that event. We also didn't continue using that. It was just for one night, but it was funny enough that I wanted to capture it. This was actually, I talked about this in the vlog. This I did at the edge of the property where we were staying at. The property is was right by the Flathead River, and so this is kind of the view. I think this is the Flathead Ridge, and I think this is called Swan Ridge, maybe. I don't remember. But this is basically the view I did, like a pen and ink study. I think it looks really good. I kind of wish I hadn't added this detail because it looks weird. But other than that, I like it a lot. And then I also did just a watercolor study where it was like I just wanted to focus on using the watercolor to try to kind of like create impressions of the shapes. And I think this turned out kind of nice too. Like it's definitely very different from like this, which is, you know, all about line, whereas this is kind of more about the color and form and stuff. And just trying to kind of like challenge myself to capture form like just with watercolor, which is a little tricky for me, and so, you know, practice and all. This is another note about what happened that day. We did a lot of like shopping. I did with my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law and brother-in-law and their significant others. John and his dad went hiking. So anyway, I talked about that. We went to rock shops, and these are all the rocks I got, and so I did little like drawings of them and then colored them in later. Also, I feel I should be upfront and say that a lot of the art and like the art that I did and like definitely filling in some of this stuff, I actually did after the trip because I wanted to fill the whole sketchbook up. And I just didn't end up having enough time to do that. So a lot of the art I made was actually after we got back based on pictures of it. But I still feel like that counts. Anyway, so this is talking about like the shops we went to. We ate at this place called Mudman Burgers, I think. And it was like a burger joint. I went to a fancy junk shop. This is where I got the stickers. And I saw prosthetic eyes there. It was like super weird. So a little fun doodles of just like to represent what happened that day. This was on our Avalanche Lake hike. This is when we were actually at Avalanche Lake and I was trying to do some rough studies. I definitely was not in the zone this day. And I feel like the studies are not that great as a result. Like I was just, I think, too distracted and I couldn't settle into a good group. I think I even talked about that in my vlogs. And same for this. This is actually a watercolor study at Avalanche Lake, and I didn't really like it at the time. I feel more okay with it now. Like, I'm kind of like, yeah, it is what it is. I wish I could have done better. It was so beautiful there, and I just wanted to capture it, but I was too rushed, and, like, I just couldn't, I don't know, I just wasn't in the right frame of mind, so I wish I could have done a better job with it, but it is what it is, and it's honestly not as bad as I thought it was at first. Another, yeah, this was of the Avalanche Lake thing. And then after we went hiking, I talk about stuff I got from, like, the gift shops, the stickers, like a wooden postcard, some Huckleberry products. Huckleberries are great, by the way. The jam is my favorite. And postcards for people. So, yeah, another little, like, doodle after the fact kind of things. This is more, documenting. So this was the day that we did the we tried to do the Highline trail hike because we couldn't do Oberlin, and that didn't end super great. And Anyway, so I kind of I didn't get to really draw at the time, so I kind of wrote a summary about it. Although I did talk about the bear, and I wasn't super duper thrilled with I wish I could have gotten better footage, like better video of the bear that we saw, so I kind of like drew the bear as I remembered him. Or her, could have been her, just to kind of record that in my journal. This is a study of like the area by the Highline Trail. I did this after the fact based on photos. And I still think it turned out nice. Like, I think I'm getting better feel for like mountains and how to draw mountains. And I feel like throughout the course of this sketchbook, you can definitely see that I improve like quite a lot at drawing mountains and capturing their shapes. So this is like, I feel like I'm already like, I'm starting to get a good handle on like how to render like craggly forms and the mountains in general and stuff. But I get even better, which is great. This is like, so I did this page afterwards, and again, a little bit documenting, like this is like a little mini like watercolor like study version of the scene from before. And these are some of the other things we saw that I did in retrospect. So this is St. Mary's Lake, and then there's Wild Goose Island there. It's a little hard to see, but I added like shimmery paint. So I don't know if you can tell, but it's like some parts are like, because it was so shiny, the surface of the water was so shiny. And I got shimmery paints from Beam like right before this trip. And so I definitely made good use of them. This, I actually think this one turned out so good. This is, I think, Grinnell Point. Let's go with that. It's Grinnell Point. This was at the Mini Glacier Lodge, like based on a photo from that. And I think this is one of those ones where I was really finally getting a feeling for how to draw mountains and how to capture the detail. And so I'm really happy with this one. And I still don't exactly know which mountain this is, but it's really cool. And I just thought it was neat the way that there were these like bands of different rock formations that created colors. So this one I actually did just in watercolor, again, to try to kind of capture forms without relying on pen work. And I think it actually turned out pretty nice. And again, I did this while I was still at Glacier, but I was like at the house we were staying at, basing this off of photos. So yeah, more summary of stuff that we did. I think this was of the day we went the Mcdonald Creek hike. So again, this was a funny quote from my brother-in-law, which was, I wanted to record that. This is a little study after the fact of a little baby deer that we saw, a little study of me with my feet in the water. This is when I realized that I am not good at waterfalls. Like, I did this and I'm like, I mean, at the time I hated it. Now I'm kind of like, it's, you know, it's not bad. But waterfalls, while I've gotten better at drawing mountains, waterfalls, like getting the forms and shapes and figuring out how to actually render them is very challenging, because there's so much that feels very elusive and intangible when trying to render waterfalls. So clearly I need a lot of practice. Yeah, again, this is kind of the trail leading up to John's Lake. I thought that was just a cool composition, so I drew that. This was a study of the house where we were staying at. I should pull this down a little bit. I did this out in the yard, and a bunch of deer actually showed up, which was kind of cool. I feel like this is super duper wonky. But it's also kind of like whimsical and quirky in its own way. I wasn't really caring about getting the perspective just right. I just kind of wanted to put it down. But it was really funny because one of my brother-in-law, well, yeah, was like, I really like this and I'd love to have a print of it. So I actually did make a print of it for him and sent it to him and my sister-in-law for Christmas. Anyway, these are studies, like gesture studies of a squirrel that I did, and then I did the pencil work there, and then later added the watercolor and the ink to kind of bring it to life a little bit. These are gesture studies of the deer that walked into the yard. This one actually turned out super nice. I really like this one. And again, like, I just focused on the pencil at the time, and then later I added the brush pen and the watercolor. I think there's another, yeah, so these are more deer studies. It's like when an animal, like, hold still enough. You just kind of draw whatever you can as fast as you possibly can before they move and are, you know, you've kind of lost the pose. So this is why a lot of there's like these weird like incomplete shapes and stuff, and I was just like frantically trying to get down what I saw as quickly as possible. This was a cat that also walked in the area, and I think this is really fun too. This is kind of based on, I don't remember if I did this as a memory drawing or if it was actually based on a gesture, but there was this like one point where one of the deer kind of like poked its head out of the brush and realized the rest of the deer had left, and that was like a, hey, where did everyone go? So I thought that was kind of fun and wanted to document it. And I liked it so much in the composition on the page that I just kind of like didn't do anything else on this page. This was based on a leaf I found. I want to say it's an aspen leaf, but I don't actually know if it is. But I found this really beautiful leaf, and I kind of wanted to document the stones and like something based on the colors of the stones. So I did this drawing, and I actually did this section up here because I didn't like how I did this stone part, and I wanted to make this into a print, which this is actually a print, so if you're interested in this, it is available in my Redbubble shop, which I will include links to in the description of this video. But anyway, I wanted to fix this part, so I did a drawing of like some stone texture that like looked a little better, and then basically kind of stitched it together in Photoshop. I actually overall like how this page turned out, aside from having to do that, but like there's nice like documentation stuff, and they have these nice like palette or like swatches on the side, and I just think that this turned out cool. Yeah, and there was like, this is kind of another chill day, you know, where I mostly focused on art. John did his big hike with his dad and his brother, and this was kind of a drawing of the fire. It's super duper abstract because fire is also something that I'm not like great at. Like fire, similar to water, I feel like you either super stylize the form to try to capture it, or you like, you know, make it sort of blurry and impressionistic, and trying to like get that actual like realism is difficult. This was, I wanted to document Indy, the cat next door. These are again based on like things I remembered and some stuff from video and stuff, and so it was, I'm glad I got to take him down. I wish I could have done like more like life studies from him, but it was just, I just wanted to document him. I think I probably did this when we got home. More talking about stuff that happened. I think this was the difficult day where I wasn't really feeling that great, and John got hit in the head with a stray skipping stone, which I talked about in the vlog. I drew some of the cairns I built, and then added watercolor to kind of like bring out the area around it. That was fun. And then this was documenting going back home. One thing I didn't mention in the vlog was I was trying to bring back a bunch of jam as gifts for people and some for ourselves. And it turns out that airport security doesn't want you to take jam on a carry-on. So I like didn't realize this until I was actually in line to go through security, and I knew that they were gonna like take all of my jam. So I had to quickly leave the line, check my bag, and then get back in line again. So it was kind of expensive, and it was kind of annoying but it was also kind of hilarious that I was trying to smuggle contraband jam onto the plane. So I had to document that. Too much jam. So let that be a lesson to you. If you ever go to Glacier National Park and you buy a bunch of huckleberry jam, make sure you put it in your checked bag, because you can't take like multiple largish jars of it, or even probably multiple small jars with you. Anyway, so this was just talking about like getting home. Not too much exciting stuff. And then this stuff I did afterwards. This was Avalanche Creek, which we went to on the Avalanche Lake hike, and this is based on photos, and I am so proud of myself for this, because I did it 100% in watercolor, no pen work. Like, I think I sketched it out and then just watercolored it, and I really like it. I like how it's more detailed kind of in this area, and then this part is kind of fuzzier because like this is the point of interest. This, I think this is also going to be a print in my shop. If it's not now, it will be at some point. And I'm like just really, really happy with how this one turned out. Yeah, I did this one at home. This was another one that I think was really cool. It was based on a couple of pictures I sort of stitched together. It was a little waterfall coming down. I think it was kind of at Sia Bend. But I did this later from pictures, and it was just, again, trying to capture the textures of the mountain and the brush around it, and I thought it would be cool to kind of detail everything kind of surrounding where the water was coming down, and then just kind of like let the rest of the, like I didn't finish the detail out to the edge, which I just thought was a cool effect. So I think that one turned out super cool. This was so hard. I think I attempted this one multiple times. This is a watercolor, like a waterfall study in just watercolor, and this is Mcdonald Falls. And this again is like proof that I really need to work on drawing waterfalls. Like they're just very challenging to try to capture the shapes. And I suppose like I could have tried using like pen and ink to try to like help out with it. I think I was worried that I would be a little too heavy-handed in trying to define the forms. But I like attempted this 3 times, and this is where I finally ended up. And I think honestly it's okay. I have a lot of growing to do, but I'm all right with it. I think it turned out pretty nice. This one is like a pencil study of Heavy Runner and Reynolds. And I think that one turned out nice. I'm really proud of like the detail I kind of managed to capture. And again, like my ability to draw mountains and even tree textures, I think has gotten like better. I talk about this in the vlog, but so I think Doug, my father-in-law, drew a face on a banana to make it look like a funny creature. So I captured that, the elusive banana creature. And I did that after the fact as well. Okay, and this is, I think, one of the last spreads from a view on the way to Avalanche Lake. I love this tree. Like, the contrast on it looks so good, which is a little ridiculous because it's, like, shoved in the corner and isn't really the focal point. But I think the mountain turned out really nice, too. I actually feel like this page turned out better than this page. Like, together, they look good together, but I feel like this is definitely the stronger half. This one I don't think I had quite the right amount of, like, it wasn't quite tight enough like it is in, like, certain important areas here. But I think overall it is, like, it's a pretty solid, like, painting. And again, this is another, like, I did it just in watercolor. So that in and of itself is, like, impressive. Like, I did pencil first and then did the watercolor, and I'm pretty happy with the fact that I was just able to capture the forms and get good contrast so well. And then this final page is just, like, paint, and this is a sticker I bought just because I kind of liked the idea of, like, the saying, and I felt like it kind of summed up what I was trying to do with this trip. I was trying to kind of make it my own, like, find my own way to enjoy it, and I'm really happy that I did that. So anyway, this is kind of, oh, and I put shiny, I should put the shiny paint on it so it's shiny. But anyway, yeah, that is my Glacier sketchbook. Thank you so much for following along, and I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!